Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to discuss how to build the ultimate rig, or how I built the Jack White PanoVerb using items around the house. A lot of the gear that I'm using has been out for a couple of years, so you should be able to acquire it. Nothing is too exotic or boutique. This is basically aimed as an educational video towards people who might not have tens of thousands of dollars to shell out towards multiple guitars and amps and speakers to figure out what their sound and their tone is. I hope you enjoy this video. If you can give me a comment, like, or subscribe, then that'll let me know where to aim these next few videos. I do have some ideas. I would love to bring you along on that journey. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, let me know. Thanks for coming along, and let's get into it. Quick run through, we're going to be using Curse Breaker, my parts caster Telecaster. It has non-waxed potted pickups, a 6-way switch, and a bunch of other fun things. Starting here at the beginning of the signal chain, we've got a wah pedal, and then we've got a volume/tuner that has an effects loop. Really handy. Don't forget it. Always use it if you can, depending on what you're trying to do. Next thing, we've got a compressor. Now this I use as my normal/funk/rock compressor on compressor 2, and then I use my country compressor on compressor 1. We could do an entire video on compressors, the different styles and genres, and how to accomplish that, but we're just moving on, okay? Since we're moving on, we go to fuzz. This fuzz, the Swollen Pickle, I've had many different fuzzes over time. If you are ever in the I've never agreed with any fuzz, grab this one. Not only could you just turn the fuzz all the way off and have a great overdrive with a lot of great filtering and options, there's also some internal controls. So it can get pretty crazy pretty quick. I highly recommend it. After the Swollen Pickle, I love to run a boost. So it just depends on the flavor and what you're trying to do, right? So I use the Swollen Pickle for my heaviest vintage sounds and or my heaviest 70s sounds, and then accompany them. If I want to do a different genre, then it depends on what I'm doing. So let's say we've got our Swollen Pickle, and I will show you how to dial in the Jack White fuzz sound with this. We then go into the Herculean, which is my transparent dual overdrive. Super handy. I run the right side as a clean boost, and most of the time I run the left side as kind of like just a little bit of saturation and overdrive. Finally, part of the gain stage, we've got our dualist. On the right side, I've got the glass section, the Stevie Ray Vaughan mod, and the tone is basically rolled all the way off. It's a clean boost with 0 to 5% of a gain. Left side is the blues breaker. I have the fat switch on. Mostly I play single coils, so this really helps beef up and thicken up the sound if I ever want it to. And it does have a decent chunk of gain. I can usually run between the third to less than half. Anything over gets a little crazy. Just leave it right there for now. Drive sections goes mono into the Strymon Iridium. Now this is where a lot of the magic happens. I'm going to come back to this, but let me just finish up. After the Iridium, we go into the synesthesia. Now, why mod after the amp? Because I like a hi-fi sound, and so I want the most out of my guitar and my amp before it gets muddied up, if that makes any sense. And so when you run a tremolo or a chorus into a dirty amp, it can get even dirtier, and maybe you want to not have that happen. So I run the modulation after my amp, and that really helps me out. After the modulation, so tremolos, choruses, pretty much anything you could ever want, I've got 2 delays preset here. I've got a slapback in stereo, and then I also have a nice tape echo in stereo. And then I have one of the best reverb pedals you could ever want, and it's modeled after a really beautiful reverb from the 70s. And I usually run a short, a really big hall, like an ambient hall, and then like a rock and roll kind of stadium hall. And yeah, there's some sound. I run an expression so I can go infinite. And then I also have the last thing out is the canvas stereo, which is both a DI and a line isolator. If you are going to go this route, and yes, there is no amp. That's right. This is an ampless rig. So hey, all the benefits of ampless is it's too many to list, but your back will definitely thank you. The sound man will thank you. You will look like you're from the future, and I've never had a rig sound as good as this. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. We've got our great little signal flow, right? Let's talk about the Iridium. The Iridium, for me, is kind of like the nuts and bolts, the bread and butter, the home base, if you will. And so we kind of use that as the sculpting tool, and we build everything on top of it. So I have this favorite. Everything is, the knobs are exactly where the favorite is, and you can copy that if you want. But let's talk about it. So we've got the round, chime, and punch amps. We are talking about a Fender PanoVerb, right? So why am I not in the round territory? Because that amp breaks up differently, right? So normally Fenders, you have to really push them hard, and even at full-blown volume, Leo Fender wanted clean. He did not want distortion, right? Things changed later, especially after Jim Marshall got a hold of it. So here's the deal. With the round amp, you could get into tweed territory and even come close to a Bassman. The Vox is great, don't get me wrong, but it's more saturation than gain or distortion. The punch amp, again, a Marshall at its best essentially is a hot-rodded Bassman at its core in its early years. And so if you are going to use gain, overdrive, and or distortion, you probably want more of that than clean. If you're going to go more clean, depending on if it's country or ambient, you're going to probably want to be in the round or chime area. We're talking about Jack White. He's known for a lot of things, but very much for his dirty tone. Now, I did not intend to build this rig to copy Jack White and then fall in love with it. I just wanted to see if not only was he right, because, you know, Fender had to sink a decent amount of money into him to think that that was a good idea. Spectrum Sound on YouTube, he's amazing, and he says that the speakers are the most important part of your sound. And Rhett Schull recently did a video on this, and it was saying that it's basically Fender's best amp they've ever built, and I'm in some agreement, especially after doing this. So, what do I have going on? On the left, as far as the IRs go, and I can put the links in the description. On the left, I have the Bassman 410 with a 57, and I think it's right in the center of the cone. On the right, I have a 15-inch Vibrolux with a tube Royer 121, not a tube mic, excuse me, a Royer 121 ribbon mic on the right side, and it's slightly off center to get more low end. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'll mute them left, right, so you can kind of hear and play the same passage and then play them together. Here we go. All right, here's the left. I'm going to roll off my volume so I can have a little more clean. That's the neck pickup. That's really nice. Now if I jump over to the bridge pickup and go full blast, right there at edge of breakup, right? So then I'm going to switch on the Vibrolux on the right. Go to the neck pickup, roll the volume down a bit. Now if I go to the in-between position on the telly, now if I turn both speakers on, that's the in-between position. Let's go to the neck. Let's go to the bridge and get hot. Now, where I come from, that's it. Pretty much, that's most of what you need. Now here's where it gets kind of crazy. Okay, let me switch to a creamback, which is what I loved. I really did enjoy creambacks. But check this out. Check the difference out between vintage Fender speakers and modern Celestions. We just heard the vintage Fender blasting, sounded good, really clear, really bright, and amazing. Here's the creamback in comparison. Say what? Go back to the Fender? We have our Iridium, and we've got the speakers. We've got our amp. The gain is dialed. It's just a little over the edge of breakup, but we're happy with it. It also instantly cleans up when we roll our volume down. So I'm going to switch to the neck pickup. Now, the speakers might be just a matter of preference, and that's fine if you happen to like the creamback or the vintage speakers or a greenback. It's all up to you. I'm just going to point out that this is a really, really interesting choice, and you could not have this without quite literally building some kind of stereo rig. And we're going to talk about that more in another video. But as we are here now, we have a 1 amp with 2 different speakers, 2 different microphones, coming out here. Now, before I get to the effects section, which again, the PanoVerb has some kind of very particular routing, which is pretty cool. Got to admit it. But I'll dial that in here last, because that's, again, to taste. When you're doing stereo, separated effects can be either great or terrible. Not always the biggest fan. But we're going to just talk about Jack White's tone now that we're here. We've got this amp. But we all know when we hear Jack, it's not the amp. And as good as the videos were, they were definitely hiding a fuzz behind the demo videos of the PanoVerb when it came out. So I'm just going to show you how I would dial in the Jack White fuzz from where I had it. I'll show you maybe like a general fuzz tone, what I like, and then we'll go to Jack White, and you'll see how it kind of evolves pretty quickly. Okay, here we go. So you can see how just a few knob turns on a really good fuzz can take you from 60s to Jack White today. I think it's pretty close. It's nice and filtered, so we've got a lot of bass, right? There is some fuzz and some grit, but it's also interacting with the amp. So the amp is telling it how much fuzzier to get. However, Marshalls get thick when you push them. Right, certain amps might get a little more brittle and bright. Marshalls get a little warmer, and they start to lose fidelity when you push them too hard. So loudness is important here. This is the amount of fuzz, filtering out high to low, the more we go this way. And the scoop does this thing where it just automatically gives you that Jack White thing when you go to 0. If you go anywhere above it, it's very functional and usable, but at 0, it's instantly there. Now, I'm not even going to talk about the internal switches and controls. It's really handy. But we're just going to keep it as simple as possible in this video. I know it's going to be a long one, but we're having a good time. We're enjoying ourselves, aren't we? So here we are. Okay, we've got this fuzz sound. Now what I would say, for me personally, as a person who has to jam these sounds and songs every once in a while, I always really enjoy a boost right after it. I'll show you both the transparent boost and the Stevie Ray Vaughan modified tube screamer, and I'll show you then kind of what it can do, options. We'll go to the effects last. Okay, so check this out. Also, I'm trying not to get in trouble with copyright. think what was really cool is that even when you get this kind of lo-fi fuzz going on, depending on if you want more transparent and clean and clear and crispy, or a little more mid-rangey old school sound, and you could kind of twist with the tone here, mess with some stuff, it gets into that kind of like, when those bends get like slow and chunky, that kind of fuzz is what we know Jack for. Like big, thick, funky, but still gritty fuzz. So I hope that helped. Knowing, don't get me wrong, a fuzz is great and it's part of the sound. Having a clean boost or a decent boost to interact with the amp that isn't the fuzz is also handy, because you might want to just excite your amp a little bit more. I'll show you how these two, just these two, will interact with the amp without the fuzz, showing you why I would use them. Again, they're very handy after the fuzz too, but I'll show you why they work, and we'll go on to the effects. Here we go. Some of the ideal situations for me that I've found to use these, let's say you've got a great tone, let's say we're right here with this volume rolled off, it's in a middle position, you really like it, but it's a solo section, you just need to be a little bit louder. And if you roll your volume knob, you're going to lose the tone, right? So then using a clean boost can hit the amp just a little bit louder and deliver, and then turn it off when the solo section's over. Now, as you can tell, the Duelist wants to add a lot more gain and grit. I've kind of set it up that way. The Herculean is way, way transparent. Better than any Klon. It's amazing. Okay, here we go. We've made it. I've gotten towards the end of the video. So, Jack White's stereo and split mono effects. Is it really great? Is it worth it? Short answer, oh yeah. Oh, totally cool, super handy. Versatility is always worth every penny in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, simplicity is great too, and exotic stuff is great too. But here we go. So I've got this special patch here set up called White 333. You know how he likes that stuff. And I've got to the left a reverb, and on the right I have a harmonic trim. So that sounds like just, now again, I'm going to turn the reverb off here. I'm going to turn off my slap. So right now, that's the amp by itself. I can even turn it up. Turn up my guitar. So that's the amp. No gain, just the compressor on. So if we have this on and we turn on just the harmonic trim, so that's just the right side. Now I will turn on the left side, which is just reverb, only on the left side. Okay, right. Now, play something, right? Could it be even cool? Yes, it actually can be cool. Watch this. Now let's try it with a fuzz. Come on. Now that can do some stuff. We're talking like creamy, vintage, gritty, like busted, broken, mean, filthy. And it just sounds better. It sounds great, but dang, it just seems to really do something there. Now, let's just, for science, I'll swap them. So now the 10-inch is getting the tremolo, and on the right side, the 15-inch is getting the reverb. Now, I also know that the actual Jack White has the 10-inch on the right and the 15-inch on the left. To my ears, 10-inch on the left. I've tried them both. Just what I came to. So, also the same with the mics. 57 on the 10 and the Royer on the 15, slightly off center. Okay, here we go. Switched sides now. Let's check it out. Now, I don't know about you, but I seem to think that's pretty dang good. So we've gone over the signal flow very quickly. We've gone over the guitar very quickly. Now, if you're like, hey, there were times that sounded like, not like a Telecaster, you're right, because it has a 6-way switch. So I can go from bridge, middle, neck, to both of these pickups instead of here, where they are in parallel. They're in series, so it's like a humbucker, a big humbucker. And then this one is in series out of phase, so it's the Peter Green sound. And then this one is parallel out of phase, so it's basically a wah pedal built in. Pretty handy. So yes, I can get really a lot of tones out of this. This is hand engraved by Amanda Hoffman, a local tattoo artist in Salem. And this is Cursebreaker. She is beautiful. I love her very much. And so I think we've covered this. I want to just encourage you to explore. That's the number one thing. I don't think guitar tone or the journey comes out of a box. I think at best it's you with your gear finding the thing that makes you most happy. If you're pursuing a particular tone for a project, whether it be a Led Zeppelin cover band or whatever, let me know. If you need some help, I would love to help you. I do consultations, and I can help you get that way, and I can make it very attainable and possible. This is a medium Gator flight case. With all these pedals on here and the power supplies, it's just under 50 pounds. So this size and that weight is usually what you can fly and travel with. So that's why this is exactly built the way it is. Welcome to my world. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be doing more videos on different rigs and how to attain different sounds. I really hope you guys like this. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and then keep your eye open. There is a new album that we are flying to Boston to record for Wisteria Lodge, and there's lots of other stuff on the horizon. So keep a lookout, check us out, and as always, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time.